Time to check in with Carmi Levy, take a look at the week in tech. He's CTV's tech analyst. Carmi, I have to start with this story on GameStop. So for people who perhaps are not that familiar, GameStop, Canadian operations, they're pretty much an international company, right? So you go in there, you can buy a video game. GameStop's been a pretty big deal for quite a while. And then we
Yeah,
find out
huge.
today that they want to leave Canada. What's the story here?
Yeah, they got just over 200 stores in Canada, probably one close to you. Certainly my kids spent lots of time in there when they were of a certain age. But the industry has shifted, right? We no longer buy games in boxes, just like we don't buy movies on disc anymore. We subscribe to them, we stream them, we download them. Everything is online, so there really isn't a need to go to a store. And so GameStop has decided that they are going to sell their Canadian and French operations, and they are looking to reduce their retail footprint. We know that the company has been shrinking over the last number of years. Their revenues keep going down for obvious reasons. But what's interesting here is that in announcing that they're going to be bailing on Canada, they said their CEO, Ryan Cohn, posted, "High taxes, liberalism, socialism, progressivism, wokeness, and DEI included at no additional cost if you
What?
buy today." So it's basically trying to get us all to look over here, ignore the fact that the company has been mismanaged for the better part of the last decade. So bottom line, if you're looking for a cheap deal on a game, you better shop quickly because those stores are going to disappear pretty fast.
But here's what I don't get. So typically you make financial decisions like that, but in citing what you just said, liberalism, wokeness, and all that, he's making a political statement here specifically about Canada and I guess France, because that's where he wants to shut stores. Uh, is that about the future of his business or about something about operating in those countries specifically?
I think it reflects a growing sense in the tech industry that they are becoming more aligned with the political machinations of the incoming Trump administration.
Okay.
It's pretty clear nobody wants to be on Donald Trump's wrong side. Talk about wokeism and talk about liberalism, and certainly Donald Trump won't put you on blast in his next social media post. And that's really what this is all about. We've seen every major tech company do the same thing. We've seen Mark Zuckerberg and the heads of CEO and Amazon of Google and Amazon and pretty much every other major tech company head over to the White House, head over to Mar-a-Lago, have dinner with Donald Trump to make sure that they're best buddies for the next 4 years. This is just a continuation of that. Doesn't have a heck of a lot to do with business. In fact, it masks the fact that this company has been a loser for a whole bunch of years.
All right, let me move on and talk about Apple. I know they teased an announcement of a new product. Well, the new product's really an old product, but in a different way. What's this new iPhone about?
So if for the last number of years, their least expensive iPhone has been the SE, and that's if you want to buy an iPhone, but you don't want to spend a couple $1,000s on it. And the SE is no longer. They replaced it with something called the iPhone 16e, and it looks a lot more like existing iPhones. So no more Lightning plug. So Lightning is dead. The home button is dead. That was the last device that had both of those features. And what's interesting here, and this isn't going to get a lot of coverage, but it should. This is the first Apple iPhone that uses a modem, the radio, the cellular phone radio inside that moves data on and off the device that Apple built itself. Up until now, they had been contracting with companies like Qualcomm to buy that component. Apple has now developed it themselves, and this is a really big deal because this thing uses a lot less power, 25% less power than other competing modems, which means the battery lasts a lot longer than it did on the earlier versions of the phone, and they're going to be introducing this new modem on every new iPhone as they update it over the next year or so. So major shift for Apple, even though that's not getting a lot of attention, that's what we should be focusing on because it means even if you buy the cheapest phone that Apple sells, your battery's going to last a lot longer than it did last year.
So this is a budget, if you will, introduction for them. This is the cheapest priced iPhone you can buy right now?
It is. It starts at $899 Canadian, which is a lot more than the SE used to sell for. It was $579, so a $300 plus bump. But it's a much more capable device. What's interesting about it is it will run Apple Intelligence. It has the latest A18 chip. It has the latest technology. It's cheaper than other iPhones, but they definitely didn't cheap out on the specs, which means you don't have to look like you bought the device when you show up at your next party or you show up at the office. You can pull it out and not be embarrassed by it.
If you were going to buy an iPhone now, why not just spring for this instead of like buying a new iPhone 16? What are you losing in terms of functionality or capability here?
Camera's a little bit less capable. It still has the notch. It doesn't have the dynamic island. The processor is a little bit less capable. It has fewer what are called GPUs. So if you play games a lot, you might notice the difference. And of course, but from where I sit, the battery lasts longer. It's 26
Sure.
hours of watching video end to end instead of 22 on an iPhone 16. So it's cheaper, but it lasts longer. So for a lot of people, that might be enough. And it also means if you're the kind of person who buys a phone, you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, but you want it to last a few years. Having a more capable battery right off the hop means that you're going to be able to keep that device with confidence. It's a better value proposition in many ways than the more expensive iPhones.
Okay. Only $8.99. Okay.
It sounds like a lot of money, and it
is.
is. It's more than it used to be, but at the same time, a lot less than you can spend. And increasingly, because of the economy, a lot of people are going, I want to spend less on a phone. I don't want to go right into full budget territory because that's too much of a compromise. This is the most important device that I have. It's the one that I use the most. This might hit the absolute sweet spot for the market, and I think Apple is onto something here. We're going to see a lot of other Android devices that mimic that strategy over the next few months.
Let me get to this last story about on Instagram testing a dislike button. How's this going to work, and what's the point here?
So basically, if you don't like something, if you're reading someone's comment or someone's post or something they've posted in a reel, you can, instead of liking it, you can dislike it, and they will see that it has been disliked, but it won't show. There won't be like a number. This is how many dislikes that we've seen. It gives you feedback into whether you're hitting the mark or not, and it kind of adds another sort of way of privately knowing if your messages are finding their target. Right now, it's just a test. It has not been rolled out globally, but the intent is they'll test it smaller, and then it'll gradually appear on all of our feeds over the next few months.
Okay. I was reading a thing, not to do with this, but, this whole idea of like and dislike, and I was reading something that was posted, and people nowadays will comment on anything and everything, and I'm wondering, maybe we've reached that time when, for some stories or some sites, maybe you don't need to have comments.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, the news industry in particular, if you look at most news or media websites, they got rid of their comment sections years ago for exactly that same reason, because it wasn't productive. It was, you would post something and then very quickly it would descend into basically anarchy. And so I think social media has followed that lead. It's gone in that direction. It almost hurts my heart some days when I see the comment section below a lot of things that are posted. And I think this is probably another sign that maybe we have better things to do with our time. Let's back away from the comment section a little bit, maybe spend a little bit less time doom scrolling and, feeling like we need to interact with everything online. Social media, if we use it in that way, it's a lot less social than we thought it should be. And I think maybe something needs to change, particularly around the way we use it.
Agreed. Carmi Levy. Carmi, thanks so much.